Seamus has said about, has kind of at the start said about how difficult the year was, the problems that are there. And I suppose really this is the only point I want to say in this slide here is that it's time to start being proactive about what can be done between now and the end of the year. In keeping with kind of the theme of today is to be proactive and to plan ahead. For me, it's planned from now to the end of November, keeping grass in the diet. And I know Seamus is going to come in what's the combination of other feeds that are going to be needed in the diet during that period and also through the winter period as well. Okay. So a quick look here at kind of the consequences of what has happened during the summer. This slide here represents, a farm that's measuring, stocked at about 2.9 to the hectare, and typical average farm cover. So the average amount of grass on the farm per hectare, kgs dry matter per hectare that's on the farm. That'd be typical desirable grass average farm cover graph, we'll say. So starting off at the start of the year, starting off opening cover 6 to 700, dropping down in farm cover to maybe 4 to 500 here in that early April period around Magic Day. Growths take off, and then you start cutting silage, you start maybe reducing concentrates in the diet and so on at that time, and you hold your farm cover there in around that 550 to 650 level right through the summer. Okay? Normally then this time of the year maybe a bit of aftergrass comes back in. It allows you to extend the rotation and it allows cover to build. Okay? There's a whole lot of ground closed here for silage, which meant that the area available for grazing was less. But then when that aftergrass comes back in, there's more area, rotation extends, and you build to a peak here. Okay? You build to a peak that allows you then to eat into that peak and keep grass in the diet right up to the end of the year. That's ideal. That's the ideal shape that your average farm cover should be taking in the season. Okay? So this is a one, kind of forget about the spring side, this is a one representative of this year. Through here where we should be getting growths of 70s, 80s out here, 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s here. Of course this year, growths we know for a lot of farms were 10s, 20s, 30s for a lot of that period. But you can say the shape hasn't changed too much. The shape in terms of average farm cover hasn't changed too much. It's between probably maybe 450 to before the drought hit, about 650. We kind of kept it in that range, but of course the consequences of keeping it in that range were significant because of the amount of feed that had to go in. So you can quickly see here on this particular farm is about 600 kilos of concentrate in the diet here, and about 20 tons. What's that? It was only about 200 kilos of silage there in the normal year, and this year we've almost doubled the concentrate input, and we've tripled the silage requirement. Okay? So that has been the consequence, I'm sure, for so many of you as a result of the spring. That was then. Okay? Where are you now? This is left blank here. Where are you now in terms of your grass cover? You don't know unless you measure. And what should, from now until the end of the grazing season, what should this look like here? Okay? Okay, and it should really look no different. We have to make provision, regardless of whether you're here in terms of farm cover here or here, to build to a peak here, somewhere in that late September, early October period, to that figure there, about 400 to 450 kilos of dry matter per livestock unit. So for here, you're stocked at around the 2.5 kilo platform. 400 by 2.5 is 1,000. Yeah, right? That's right. That's right, isn't it? This. So your target will be about somewhere around 1,000 to 1,100. If you're stocked at 3 to the hectare, 3 by 400 is 1,200. Okay, so you need to build to a higher peak. Okay. The thing about it is that this doesn't happen by chance, and you have to plan for it. Okay. Okay. So again, how do we do that? Before we go into how to do it, I suppose, I just want to, dispel maybe some of the debates that are going on out there. Maybe it's me coming on in terms of giving a very definite opinion on it. Okay, like I said in the previous slide, we have to maintain high quality grass in the diet for as long as possible. If you don't build to that peak, it's inevitable that your grazing season will be shorter. Okay? And so if it's shorter, it means you're housing earlier, or it means you have to come in with silage earlier, and that's what we don't have in the camps that we just did. Okay? So, yeah, absolutely we need to extend the grazing season for as long as possible, and we can do that by building to that peak. There's a certain debate there as to, at the moment, as to, you know, in light of the fact that winter feed is in short supply, do I take a third cut, or do I allow that area to build grass on the milking platform? And for me, the definite answer is to build a cover, not to take the third cut. If that grass is on the milking platform, okay, and you've done your budget, and it's clear that if you take out that grass for your third cut, and it means that you fail to build to that peak that you need to build to, well then it doesn't make sense. Okay? You use that grass and you use that area over the course of the next 2 rotations to build to make sure you build your cover. Okay? So we know we need to extend the grazing season, and so in the attempt to extend the grazing season, the debate is whether we supplement now. Do we supplement now, slow down the rotation, build the cover up high like we need to, or do we cut back the supplementation? Maybe only build the cover here, and then supplement heavier after in November, for example. And again, it's definite. Be prepared to supplement now to build to the peak. The reason for it is probably hard. It's hard to get across and maybe to verbalize, but you have the option of feeding, let's say, 4 kilos of concentrate in the diet now, or 4 kilos of supplement. I won't say concentrate. Some form of supplementation into the diet. Now, when you're getting growths of 60, it's ranging between 40 probably and 60 on a lot of farms at the moment. Okay. With the intention of extending the grazing season, every kilo that Aidan will feed now at a period of high growth will buy more days grazing than feeding the same amount of concentrate in November during a period of much lower growth. Okay? So it makes a hell of a lot more sense to feed it now. And also you're feeding it at a time when cows are in their, you know, cows will respond better to it now than feeding that extra supplement when they're later in the lactation. They're probably going to be a lot of fat on their backs as opposed to milking from it. Okay?
I know just on that, they're very important points, like what Noel just mentioned about building grass cover to supplement now. Some guys are only on, like, it could be a 12 to 15 day round. You know, it's just not enough. You'll run into trouble later on in the year. And we're, again, with the keen and office side of things, like we're getting phone calls wondering what to do about the grass cover, you know. You're on a 27 day round or things, looking to stretch out. Some farmers are looking to cut back the supplement because they got so fed up with feeding it all year. But you're actually going to run into a bit of trouble later on in the year. So what type of supplement to feed is number 1. But number 2 then is to actually stick to these grass concepts, these grazing concepts.
Okay. So again, look, who has a grass budget done? Quick show of hands. 1. Okay. Crikey. Okay. 2. 2 is there? Right, okay. Okay. Right. Needs to be done. It needs to be done. You know, to be proactive about getting yourselves out of the difficulties that you're in. You know, these budgets need to be done. Okay. How to do it? Okay. Grass measurements, I suppose, is the first thing you're already doing that. You have the measurements there. You have the measurements, and you're disciplined. You're disciplined in that you will continue to do it for the course of the rest of the autumn. Okay. And you need just some simple grass measurement software: AgriNet, Pasture Base, Kingswood. Okay. They all do the same thing. Okay. The one that we're using today is AgriNet, which we find is a very good one. Okay. So the autumn grass budget is looking at this relationship between growth, expected growth, and expected demand. It's like a cash flow budget. We all have cash flow budgets, so someone is doing it for you. How much money you have, how much money is going to come in the milk receipts, how much checks you're going to have to pay for feed and fertilizer. It's no different here. Grass budget is from your measurements. How much grass do I have now today? How much growth am I going to get in the next week, 2 weeks, and project it then right through to the end of the grazing season. Okay. How much demand is going to take out of that then? Demand being the number of stock, how many cows do I want to graze, how much grass am I willing to offer them, and the area available then, you know, the the area is set here in terms of the milking platform. Okay. So it's looking at that relationship and how that's going to shift between now and the end of the grazing season. Okay. Both of them are measured in the same unit, kgs of dry matter per hectare per day growing, and kgs of dry matter per hectare per day that's being eaten up. And that's how you calculate the demand. Growth is out of our control. Fair enough, we talked about the rules of grazing out there. So we're going to assume that you're going to stick to those and optimize growth. But grass growth is affected more by the weather, and that's out of our control. Okay, whereas this is fully under your control. How many cows you graze and how much grass or supplement needs to go in there. Okay. So here is an example of a page of a budget. Okay. So every one of these columns represents a week in the year. It's like a cash flow budget, I'm sure you've seen those as well. The grazing area that we have available is up there. The growth that we're expecting through that period, right through from August into early October, and if it continues on into mid-November, into late November, it's continued on. You're starting now and you're projecting forward. You put in your expected growths through that period. Okay. Well, luckily, because of these discipline and these measurements, we have typical growths for the farm over the previous years. Okay. So that's definitely a definite benefit of measurement, is that you're accumulating a serious amount of data for the farm that you can key in here. You always put that in there first, because again, we can't control growth, so we kind of have to project forward what growth we're expecting first. That's always the first thing you put into the budget. And then of course here we have the demand side of it. Stock numbers, how much grass we're willing to give them. And remember what I said outside, knowing the intake requirement of the cows. If we know the intake requirement of the cows is for example 19 kilos, well then these two components here, okay, for this particular herd, this example, it was 17 kilos of intake requirement. So 14 of grass, 3 of supplement, be it meal, silage, whatever, but 14 of grass. Okay, or 15 of grass and then 2 of a supplement of sops. And that then allows a graph to be created for the budget. Okay, so remember that shape. Okay, so this is just from August to November, whereas the other one was from spring. Remember that peak that I talked about at this time of the year? That's it now for this farm. That's the budget that we created. It was a week or 10 days ago for this particular farm. Okay? So what did we say his peak should go to? How much? 11,000, 1,100, yeah. So here we have a peak here, 1,000 to 1,100. I know the colour isn't great here, but this is actually Aiden's measured covers. So 500, and then you got some rain that week. There's cover jumped up to about 760, 770. And then last week when we were here, or 10 days ago when we were here, his cover had risen slightly again. And we created the budget here. Okay? So we entered his projected growth curve. From there on, we entered his stock numbers from there on, and how much supplement we thought he needed to go into the diet. Okay? And we adjusted the amount of supplement to make sure that the grass covers increased to this peak. So that was 10 days ago. Okay? So it's basically saying now that for example, on the 10th of the 9th, Aiden's farm cover needs to, in a week's time, Aiden, your farm cover needs to be about somewhere around here, 950 to 1,050, somewhere in that region. Okay? And then in another 2 weeks after that, again, it needs to be maybe on the downward side of it, again, somewhere around 1,050 again, which you're beginning to eat into it there then. With the ultimate goal, because we built this peak, we're keeping grass in the diet here right out to the end of November. We're maintaining that grazing season length. Okay? So that was his target. That red line is his target there. And the blue is projected. Okay? So we're keeping grazing season length and we're reducing the winter feed requirement by doing that. Okay, so to throw a little bit of a spanner in the works, this is still his red line target. This again, this is the same red line here. But I'm hypothesizing now, I'm kind of, maybe I'm throwing the question back to you. If Aidan got exceptional growths over the next 2 to 3 weeks, okay, instead of growing his projected 50 to 60, if you've got growths of 70, 80, 90, let's hope that it happens. Okay? Then his projected cover here will go up to almost 14, 50. Okay? Way too high. Any idea what's the consequence of that? What happens then? No? Sorry?
What's your grass grade on property for next year?
Yeah, okay, so that's an average farm cover of 1400, which means you'll be going into, yeah, 2/8, 2.5 to 3,000. Huge covers of grass at a time when here in that late September, October period when you're trying to close up paddocks for the spring and you raise it earlier on about trying to get residuals down with such high covers. It ain't going to happen, it's going to be very difficult. So if that was to happen, what should Aidan be doing now? Okay, if his projected farm cover in 3 to 4 weeks' time is to go up to that height, what should he be doing? Taking out some paddocks for silage maybe, yeah, and he's a clamp there to fill, yeah, every little bit helps. That's one option. The other option could be cut the supplement, be it meal, be it whatever the supplement is going in there. And if he cuts it here, over the next 2 weeks, for example, well, then this projection comes down a lot lower. And he gets back on target. Yeah, spot on. Wouldn't we all love for this to be the situation? And so, dare I say it, maybe it's unlikely. Okay? So this is the other side of it. Okay, so we created the, if you remember, the blue was up there with the red when we created it 10 days ago. What's after happening is that Aidan is after doing 2 measurements since, and he's behind target. The first measurement he did after, actually growths were way lower than we were projecting. Yeah, it's come up a bit, but the projections now going forward, he's still way below. And if Aidan doesn't take action, you know, we need to be finishing up here. Okay, it's for another day, but the question arises, do we need to finish up grazing at 500 cover, or 600 or 400? That's for another day. Let's say 500 that he needs to finish up at. So he's going to sharpen, we're going to be down here 3 to 4 weeks earlier than we planned. So we're going to have a longer winter, we need to provide feed for it. Okay. So, that's what the projection is saying. What does he need to do now to address that?
Feed more concentrated into the rotation.
Okay. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Either he decides to take stock off. What we know is the demand needs to drop. We can't affect the growth, demand needs to drop. So in most cases it's reduced grass intake by supplementing more in some shape or form.